that also while I'm here. Our next public policy members meeting is in Vancouver in October. We welcome all of you to join us. And today we opened the fellowship application process for that meeting. So if you're interested, I can show you online how to apply, and we welcome your application. And with that, I'll take any questions. Awesome. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Suzanne. All right, next up, thanks for the update. Next up, we actually, okay, thanks, Roger. Actually want to ask Paul Wilson of APNIC to come up and give us an update on the work in the Asia-Pacific region. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Good afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here to be able to share a few updates from APNIC for your interest and information. Can I ask how many in the audience were present for the RIR reports during the week? Okay, so I'll be presenting largely similar information, but I'm going to be in response to Bevel, putting some emphasis on some topics there which I think will be of more interest to you all. So apologies for the repetition of some of this information. APNIC, that's our head office there. Actually, we're based in Brisbane in Australia. We've been there for 20 years since relocation of the original APNIC organisation, which was established in Japan actually back in initially as a pilot project back in 1993. We've always had a mission in our bylaws for the support of internet development in the region. The reason why APNIC was brought to the region, the reason why people got together and volunteered to establish APNIC when the original call went out from the IETF was precisely to support internet development in the region. So that's reflected in our mission. It's reflected in quite a few of the activities that we are still doing today. But our mission is there for a global, open, stable and secure internet that serves the regional community. And we divide our reporting into these three areas. So firstly, serving members. I won't go through these slides in detail, but they do show that at the moment, and we're not sure if it's a permanent situation, but at the moment APNIC sort of transaction levels have gone down slightly from a peak a couple of years ago, but we are just looking at 1 year of decline in 2017 and projected activities at about the same level as last year. Based on the early numbers today. And the only thing that's actually continuing to increase right now is the rate of transfers. Now these are market transfers of IPv4 addresses. We still find that in spite of having a bunch of IPv4 brokers running around the world and drumming up business, that many people are still sort of unaware and unfamiliar with the fact that you can basically undertake transfers. We call them market transfers in the APNIC region to actually reassign addresses from other parties who are willing to release them to you. APNIC doesn't enter into. We know that there are business deals that go on behind those transfers, but we don't enter into those deals at all. I think that's in common with all of the other RIRs. Resource certification, a very important area these days in supporting, potentially in supporting the future security of the routing system. So I suppose everyone knows it's the process of issuing digital certificates that tie the certificate holder to their authorization to use the IP address and ASN resources. And then there's something called a ROA, a route origin authentication, which is another secure object, certified object, which represents the ability to originate routes from particular ASNs. So we've got only 2.2% of all of APNIC address holdings are currently covered by ROAs. That's IPv4 and 0.39% of IPv6. So it's really early days in terms of rolling out the RPKI, as I guess most of us here would be aware. So moving on to some of the other services that we provide to members, not only to members actually in the case of training and technical assistance, but as I said, internet development's been on APNIC's agenda for many, many years. The primary delivery of that is through technical training and more recently technical assistance to members who require that. And we're very active, like a couple of the other RARs are, in providing that training course, training material and training program around our entire region. We've got as of last year, a new online training, a self-paced training delivery platform, apnic.academy, if you'd like to take a look at that. And there's 3 courses on that now, which are freely available to anyone to undertake them and to download a certificate if you pass the requirements, as 427 people have done so far. And a few new courses are coming along on apnic.academy in the next year. Who is our interface into the history of APNIC, who is records. So it tells you the full series, it'll expose to you the full series of records that might precede the current state of who is. Very useful if you want to track particularly the recent history of what's been going on with a particular address block or address. And we feel this is becoming more and more important as the transfer market warms up, and of course there'll be more and more churn of number resources as the transfer market keeps developing. Another one that we've provided here, it's kind of an experimental service called VisAs for visualization of autonomous systems. You can go to that site and get a sort of a graphical map of the ASNs in a particular economy of the world. That's Australia that's showing there. One interesting thing about this is that it uses the RDAP service, which is the API the API for access to registration data. And so if you click on any one of the autonomous systems on one of these maps, then you'll find that the data is taken out of in a formatted, structured way. It's taken out of the WHOIS service that it's where it resides, including those in other parts of in other regions outside of APNIC. A few more activities on supporting regional internet development. I think we've all heard about the policy, the progress of policies around the world in the last few days. One of the things that we're very eager to do at APNIC is to increase the engagement of our community in the policy process. So we've done quite a few things, including training and online webinars and so forth, to increase understanding of the importance of policy and the policy process. We ran a mock policy SIG at one of our meetings last year, which helped people to understand really in detail how it worked. And we've had a noticeable increase in activity in the policy process with those activities, which is very good to see. Now, the APNIC community is a pretty big one. We've got 56 country code economies in our region. We've got about half of the world's population, in fact, and probably the significant majority of actual internet development that's going on at the present time around the world. We've always reached out to that community in various ways, as both in terms of our membership and the wider community who are building the internet. And we've been, for quite a few years now, increasing our engagement with network operator groups. So last year we participated in 24 different NOG meetings, events. This year 5 so far. There are some, I think, 19 different NOGs active in the APNIC region. That includes mostly country-based NOGs in many countries, but also 2 sub-regional NOGs. So there's the SANOG for South Asia, and there's PACNOG for the Pacific. So the PACNOG in particular is one that may be of interest to the Caribnog community, because of course in the Pacific Island countries there would be many issues in common with this community. So we go to those NOGs, we provide training, presentations, APNIC help desk services. We also provide financial sponsorship in accordance with their need to most of those NOGs. Now, there's many other sort of community-oriented activities. One that I'd like to mention actually is in the security area, with increasing activity in supporting the establishment of certs around the region. So on security, as I mentioned during the ARIN meeting, APNIC does conduct a survey every 2 years, a formal independent survey across our community to try and find out how our services are viewed in terms of our performance, and also where we're going in the future and what we should be focusing on, what members need and what they expect from APNIC. And so security is actually the topic that has moved up the list of priorities very steadily over the years, and for the last several years it's been at the top of the list of our members' priorities in terms of how they would like support from APNIC. So security training courses face-to-face and online, that includes training for law enforcement agents and other sort of justice sector people. Engagements with a lot of different organisations who are interested these days in security. That includes, for instance, the Interpol Global Cybersecurity Centre, which is located in Singapore, and things like AP CERT, which is the umbrella organisation for the certs in the Asia-Pacific region. We work with FIRST as well, the Forum for Incident Response Security Teams, I think it is. One of our security staff, Adley, is one of the FIRST board members. We've got 2 full-time security staff who do this work, and it's almost all out there doing engagements with the security community on behalf of our membership. And something that we started work on late in 2016, in fact, was to do some more work supporting the development of certs in the Asia-Pacific region. So there was there was quite some years ago an initiative called PAC-CERT, which was an attempt at having a Pacific sub-regional single cert office. It actually floundered for quite a few years with a sort of lack of funding and support, and it was clearly very difficult, in fact, for these for sort of sovereign countries to be using a single shared cert and for them to be sharing security information. So, in fact, it helped to spread awareness, but it ultimately did close for lack of funding. Since then, though, we've got certs that are starting up, particularly under the leadership of the government of Tonga in the first case, where we helped them to launch the first country cert in the Pacific, and that's been followed by cert PNG. I'll say a bit more about this on the panel session tomorrow, actually, so if you're interested. Okay, IPv6 is another very important training and development area, second these days to security for our members' interests. We're doing a lot of communications on our blog.apnic.net. Another topic here which does reflect, I think, APNIC's very strong interest in internet development is the establishment of the APNIC Foundation. So that's our fundraising arm. We're trying to attract funding from different agencies that have an interest in internet development in the Pacific region and help them with implementing good projects for internet development, successful projects for development. So in fact, our work with the certs has been funded to some extent through the APNIC Foundation to help us to do more of that work. Very quickly, running through these topics of global engagement, we do move around the world quite a bit, mostly in promoting awareness of APNIC, of addressing issues, of security issues, of the policy development process, of the multi-stakeholder model. All of those topics are pretty important for internet stakeholders more broadly to understand, and so we do that outreach. We work with others who've got the same goals. Jeff Houston runs APNIC Labs. He's the source of some very important global research. It's now a sort of reference point for looking at deployment of IPv6 and DNSSEC around the internet. They've got an automatic measurement system that accepts about 10 million measurements per day from around the world, from around the internet, and so the information that's there is really based on some very comprehensive data gathering. A bunch of other research topics happen at APNIC Labs. One of them has been to do with the DNSSEC KSK rollover, some measurement activities and also some promotional activities to help to spread the word about that. And another one which followed some research from Labs was our support for ISC to put this new functionality into Bind that can dramatically reduce a resolver's need for reference to the central root servers, in particular by avoiding the repeated sending of invalid queries or queries for invalid names. Okay, we collaborate across the RARs in all sorts of different ways, as reflected here. One of the things that we're doing together across the RARs is the review of the ASO, which I won't go into at the moment, but the ASO is the way that the RARs represent the numbering community, the way that the numbering community uses the RARs to participate in the ICANN process. So that's been under review, and we might see some changes in the ASO coming through our respective community processes. Our next meeting is actually in a Pacific island nation. It's in Noumea in New Caledonia, 6th to the 13th of September this year. So I really hope that we might see, although it's almost the other side of the world, we might see some participation by Caribbean internet community members. And of course, like ARIN, we have full remote participation in our meetings as well. So if anyone here would like to join us in person or remotely, you'll be very, very welcome. 2 more meetings coming up next year in Korea and in Thailand. And that's all I've got to say. Thank you very much for your time and attention. I will be on a panel tomorrow talking about capacity building in the Pacific, but also happy to answer questions if time permits at this point. Thanks very much. Thank you.
Paul, before you go, just one question which I think might be of interest to a lot of the Caribbean participants. You mentioned your survey and kind of getting the emphases coming out of that. Could you put your finger on any particular emphases that you saw coming out of the island nations there? Was there anything in particular?
Look, I think the need in Pacific Island nations has mostly got to do with technical capacity building, technical support. So it's got to do with training and helping to fulfil or helping to satisfy the need for technical information. The lack of staff. So I mean, these countries. The largest one is Papua New Guinea with 8 million residents, and it's got citizens, and it's got huge development challenges. But many of the other countries are very, very tiny, and finding the technical expertise to do what they need to do is really, really difficult. One interesting point in the Pacific is that only a few years ago it was really common for sort of commentators to predict that really cable was not going to start serving the Pacific island nations anytime soon, but in fact submarine cable deployment has actually been accelerating around the Pacific, and so the need, while that acceleration is going on, the need for technical support is not diminishing, nor is necessarily the availability of support. So it has got to do with the development needs of the region. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Next update will be from RIPE. I'm going to ask Axel Pauling to come up and give us a quick update. Thanks, Axel.
Hello, everybody. My name is Axel Pavlik. I'm pleased to be here. It's my first Caribnog. It was a bit of a surprise, but happy to do my presentation. Similar to what I've done at ARIN with a couple of extra slides. So first of all, I love Caribnog. Normally, I'm the last to present these updates. This time I'm not. That's good. So the RIPE NCC, we are basically ARIN's sister organization in Amsterdam. We have a fairly long history of being the secretariat for the RIPE community, basically looking or arranging the meetings, looking after enough cookies and enough coffee, and also being somebody to call in between if you should need us. That has fairly quickly accelerated into running one of the root name server systems, KRoot. Also, then we were quickly asked to do this internet registry thing, which we took up. What else are we doing? We are having a fairly strong training arm as well, and go into that a little bit, starting basically with courses for our members so that they would understand how they should interact with us. Apparently our systems were really complicated at the time. And we have a fairly strong also a tradition in running measurements on the internet. RIPE Atlas is maybe something that you might have heard of. I see a couple of slides, a couple of probes dispersed within the Caribbean region as well. So membership growth, we similar to the other areas, are not-for-profit membership association. We have quite a high number of members. The entities that we count here are LIRs, local internet registries. It's entirely possible that one member might have several of those under in its portfolio. So we have 18,500 of them. We see a strong growth there, and we expect that to continue for the next, well, maybe 2 years or so. The reason for the 2 years number is that we are running out of IPv4. We have just run out of the last /8, but we have, of course, some address space that we have received back from our members, which is great, so we can continue to allocate /22s, and we think they'll probably last about 2 more years, and then we'll see a change. We see lots of addresses transferred in 2017. It used to be a little bit of a downward trend before that. We think that the majority of the 2017 transfers are done within one corporation business restructuring, or maybe just merging LIRs and taking all those different little /21s under one umbrella. We see about 5 million addresses between unrelated LIRs on the market, and that then, if you look at this, 5 million, is continuing this downward trend a little bit. We do see more LIRs without IPv6, which we think is, on the first look, a little bit alarming, but it's not really, because we have changed the policies and the allocation policies there a while back. So for last /22, we do not require extra V6 allocations in parallel. That doesn't make that much sense. So I think it's a normal trend, nothing to be too worried about. Capacity building, we are for a long time looking into our service region. It's a very large service region, basically from Greenland to the far east of Russia, including also the Middle East. So it's also in terms of development, in terms of cultural background, quite diverse. So we have started to go into the bigger regions like the Middle East and towards the east, Russia and the Ukraine there, but also lately see there are pockets of our service region that we haven't really visited, so we look into smaller countries there as well. Next week I'll go off to Tehran, then a couple of weeks later to Moscow. Timișoara is coming up as well in Romania. So quite a lot of travel involved, but it's also very gratifying to turn up in a country that you haven't been before, and the locals are quite happy to see our stuff there. So and occasionally that fosters also the creation of national operators group where we haven't seen those before. Member lunches is something that we do when we go to a region with some event. We typically call up the members in the city or in the area there and say, hey, we are coming. If you don't want to come to the event or can't come to the event, but if you see us over lunch, then that's a possibility too. We do lots of training, like I mentioned. We do an IPv6 Roadshow program. Training is so popular that we cannot do as much as we want to do, so we have started with the trainer program. Actually, the first of those trainers are giving our training events as well. I talked about country-focused meetings. Kazakhstan is coming up this year. We do also events for sections of our community that might not be the typical network operator, like law enforcement and governments, roundtable meetings for those as well, trainings here and there. And we have a new staff member in the Caucasus, looking after the Caucasus. Also, of course, I haven't mentioned that we have a small office in Dubai, basically looking after the Middle East from there, having Arab-speaking people in there. But also we have a couple of people working for us in Moscow. So, RIPE came into being as basically some sort of a pre-NOG in the olden times. So I think it's just good and fair that we continue the tradition and foster NOGs where we go. We offer speakers for events if they should be welcome. We, on a small scale, also do sponsor. And of course, yeah, we have been running RIPE for nearly 30 years, so if you want to talk to us about those things as well. So we have 3 big regional NOGs. We started, I think, with MENOG, the Middle Eastern Network Operations Group, long time ago, and it's very successful in the area. Also in the East, Russia, and the Commonwealth of Independent States, Eastern Europe in general, is also a fairly large meeting that goes around the area there. A newer one is the Southeastern Europe group that we have had for a couple of years now. So it's also growing to a nice size. We have in our service region that we know 25 NOGs. There might be more information. Hope to hear about them soon. We have also on RIPE Labs, in our labs pages, we have a new NOG section. There's the link. We think we have all known NOGs in the world on there, and if it looks like it's just Europe, but you can drag the map around a little bit. Caribnog, of course, is on there. So we did a survey there as well of NOGs and how they do their things. It's also on the labs there. So the idea is to connect the NOG participants within the RIPE community and to the RIPE community and vice versa. We have a first time I think in a while, full plenary session on NOGs at the next RIPE meeting, and of course together with a meeting for NOGs to share their experiences. Basically the idea is to engage. We do lots of engaging in different sections of the community, and the NOGs are part of our tradition, our roots, so that's something that we want to support. Another part of our route is lying in the academic community, so we have for the last couple of years started to connect there again, and that also to quite some success with a RACI program, getting young researchers to our events and in the various NOGs as well, to present the work and to show up. And also we want to grow the community, of course, and bring new blood in. Talking about training, NCC Educa is a new thing. It's basically a really long, one full day webinar of sorts with people we bring in from externally as well, experts in the field that then mingle with our people that might have some expertise and do a really long day-long webinar there. The events run with about currently 130, 150 people. It's quite nice. Internet of Things, I don't want to go into too much details. We have now a working group on the Internet of Things within RIPE, and I hope to get some information from that working group on what the RIPE NCC should be doing as secretariat. GDPR, I was sitting at the lunch table the other day with a member of the ICANN board, and she showed this very nice explanation of where the Netherlands are, and the Netherlands apparently are also in the Caribbean. So part of this is relevant for you here, I guess, as well. The point here is that we think we need the information in the WHOIS to our information in the WHOIS to be accessible for all the operators, so it shouldn't be made too private. It should be accessible as it was before for the operations of the Internet. That is important, and through that argumentation that the network operators have employees, they then give their consent to being in the database if they personally are in there. It should not be too big of a problem. But we'll see how this whole GDPR story unfolds next month and after that. Should you be around Europe, you're very welcome to join at the Marseille meeting in May and any other meetings after that. And I hope to be coming back here myself. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'll be here.
I think we might have a few questions, Axel.
Very good.
Could hold on.
I'll try my best.
Jared Best, Caribnog. Thanks so much, Axel. I wanted to ask about the recent power outage in Frankfurt and at the internet exchange there, and whether from your perspective, you're looking at me very quizzically as if...
I didn't get the beginning of the sentence.
I have a question related to the recent power outage at the internet exchange in Frankfurt, Germany.
Oh, right, that one, yes.
Yeah, and whether from your perspectives there were any lessons learned there. At Caribnog 15, one of the big themes that's going to be discussed, as Stephen said, is that whole issue of robustness and strengthening the resiliency of the internet here in the region. Whether from your perspectives there were any lessons learned that you thought would be of value here.
Right. I would not comment on that. I'm not familiar with the details there. I think the people around DKIX will know much more if you ask them. So I actually don't know.
Thanks.
Sorry. Not running that thing myself, although we were sort of affiliated in long time ago. Personally.
Albert Daniels, St. Lucia. My question is around the system of the RIPE Atlas probes.
Yes.
Typically in the Caribbean, we have maybe 2, sometimes 3 main ISPs in a country. And I actually have 2 of the probes running at home, one on each of the ISPs. And I'm seeing some strange stuff. First of all, in St. Lucia, I'm seeing that I'm actually connected to an ASN coming out of another Caribbean territory in Antigua, and then on that same probe, the data changed. And it seemed like apparently there was an ASN in St. Lucia. And then you have all these mergers